Hi, this is Richard Chamberlain. Welcome back to the Protecting Your Family's Future podcast. This is episode number 137. Today, we're going to be talking about the successor trustee taking over the trust if the trust maker becomes incapacitated. Now, last week, we talked about the successor trustee responsibilities generally. Today, we want to focus specifically on the tasks that the successor trustee needs to do and how they go about doing those things. So, the first thing that the successor trustee needs to know is how do they know if the trust maker has become incapacitated? So, the answer to that will either be in the trust document, or if it's not in the trust document, then it will be in the law generally. When we write our trusts, we have a definition of incapacity that we have for the trust maker, and it's generally something along the lines of the trust maker is not capable of effectively managing their property and financial affairs anymore, either because of injury or illness or some other cause. So look to the trust document to determine how you know whether the trust maker is incapacitated. If the trust maker is incapacitated, you may have to provide some documentation, maybe from a physician who's examined the trust maker, that states that the trust maker is incapacitated. When you have the necessary paperwork, you're going to need to get documentation showing that you are now the successor trustee. That could be the form of a trustee affidavit or a certification of trust. It would provide the basic information about the trust, who the original trustee was. The trustee is now incapacitated, and you've taken over as the successor trustee. You need that because you don't have access to the assets in the trust that are owned by the trust until you provide that documentation to the financial institutions that have those accounts. So, for example, the bank account, if it's owned by the trust, the bank records show the original trustee, trust maker, as the person who is authorized to access that account. If you are now serving as the successor trustee, you need to be able to access that account. And so you would need to provide a copy of that new certification of trust or trustee affidavit to the bank to allow you to access that account. So providing that documentation is going to be the first step for any assets that you need to access as the successor trustee. The next thing you need to do is generally manage the assets in the trust for the benefit of the beneficiaries of the trust. So that could be the trust maker, the trust maker's spouse, anybody who's dependent on the trust maker, or there may be other beneficiaries who are listed. You'll need to check the trust document to see who that would be. You need to make sure that the trust maker is being provided for. So coordinating with the person who's making their healthcare decisions and use the assets that are in the trust to pay for their care, to make sure their bills are being paid, including medical bills, any living expenses, anything like that. You need to make sure that you are paying those that need to be paid. In order to pay those medical bills, you need to understand what health insurance is available to the trust maker so that you're coordinating, filing the right claims for the medical benefits, and not overpaying for things that should be paid by insurance. So remember, we said last week the successor trustee is a fiduciary, which means you need to manage the assets prudently. You need to take good care of them. You need to make sure you're not wasting them. So you need to make sure, as the successor trustee, that you understand those insurance benefits and you're paying only what needs to be paid. So you're going to also need to collect a team of advisors, people who can advise you on your responsibilities as the trustee. So that might be a CPA, because income tax returns will need to be filed for the trust maker. You will probably need a financial advisor to advise you on the proper investment of the trust assets, and you're going to need a an attorney to advise you on what your responsibilities are in this particular situation and help you with the proper documentation, just to make sure that you're following all the rules and meeting all your responsibilities. So that's generally speaking what you need to do when you're the successor trustee if the trust maker becomes incapacitated. Of course, the first thing you need to do, as I said, is check the trust document, and that will give you some basic information, and then work with your team of advisors to follow up with the rest. So I hope that's helpful for you today. If you have any questions about maybe taking over as the successor trustee for someone, if you're in Ohio or in Michigan, we can help you with that. Just reach out to us. Our contact information is in the show notes, and we will see you again next week. Thanks.